I was 4 years old when the Marine left Haiti, the US Marine left Haiti. I was a kid. And every time a Marine battalion passed in front of the house, my father took my hand and he said, "Don't look at them. Don't look at them." And every May 18, which is the flag day, defiantly, he put the Haitian flag in front of the house. And I said, "Father, what is that? What does that mean for you?" He said, "That means that you are Haitian. That means that my great-grandfather fought at Vertières. Never forget that. You are Haitian. You are from this land. You are not French. You are not British. You are not American. You are Haitian."
Haïtien natif natal. Hey! MVP réfugié yo tourné avec un vibre belle. Mes amis levez du fait non en l'air. Tendez Wyclef moi pour parler avec nous mes amis tendez. Gagne en pile royaume cap crasé. Il pas quoi que y a bâti. Passer l'air. Bon Dieu te baille au pouvoir. Il semblait que yo abusé. Et gagne en pile ti moun ki nan koma. Moi visite yo Kings County l'hôpital. Moi mande docteur qui parole overdose. Il dit m'yo mixe cocaïne avec marijuana. Oui, oui, oui. Si tellement ventre moins fait mal, pas qu'à manger. Si tellement moins gen problème, pas qu'à relever. Parce les moins gardés, non, je moins pas ouais. Fiti pour la jeunesse. Oh non, moi te mettre pipo star dans le monde entier. Mais ça pas fait rien, sinon pas avec moi. Hey, parce les garder dans genou. Faut que moi fiti pour nouvelle génération. Mes amis, non belles. Gardez non très belles. Gardez Philippe, qui a causé avec Marie. Mais Philippe, il pas connaît Marie. Mais après fête, là, il mène Marie la Kylie. Philippe a docteur, mais il pique Marie à injection. Mais il y a un petit problème, il te fait sans protection. 2 semaines après ça, Philippe perdit 50 livres. Les la checké vrai docteur a dit li positif. Ouais, si tellement li gen problème, li pas carrelé. Gardez le gros goule, pas qu'à manger. Passez les moins gardez dans les yeux. Moi pas ouais, viti pour la jeunesse. Oh non, moi te mettre plus gros star dans le monde entier. Mais ça pas fait rien, sinon pas avec moi. Hey, passez les garder dans les genoux. Fuck moi ouais viti.
Our group will be presenting the culture of Haiti. Haiti, or formerly the Republic of Haiti, is the 3rd largest country in the Caribbean. Haiti is the only country in the Western Hemisphere to undergo a successful slave revolution. Haiti is known for its corruption and poverty. The 2 primary languages are French and Haitian Creole. 80% of Haitians profess to be Catholic, and the other minority religions practiced by Haitians are Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, and Voodoo. Haiti is well known for their music, their dance, and art. Many of its cultural influences come from Europe, specifically France, and also Africa. Haiti is known for their folklore and voodoo traditions. Voodoo is one of the major other like holistic healthcare practices, I guess you could call it, but they do different spells, or they go to a high priestess or a priest to have their illnesses taken care of if they practice voodoo. The World Health Organization says that diarrheal diseases, HIV, AIDS, meningitis, and respiratory infections are the most common causes of death in Haiti. And because of their poverty and government corruption, there are very few hospitals in Haiti, and there's a chronic shortage of healthcare personnel, and hospitals also lack resources. All of this became very apparent after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti. There were many Western countries that had to send aid and medicine, doctors, nurses, and even laypersons just to go and try and help the people who were hurt in the earthquake. And even today, a lot of the major hospitals that were in Haiti still haven't been reopened because the government claims that they don't have the money to open up the hospitals. So there are many people who are chronically ill who don't get any treatment.
Hey guys, my name is Bree. I'm going to be talking about communication, space, time, social organization, environmental control, and biological variations of the Haitian people. Let me start off with communication. Their language is French and Creole. Creole is their primary language. About 85% of the population speaks it. They use hand gestures, and their tone becomes very pronounced, and eye contact is maintained when trying to get attention and for respect. The next one, space. It's considered a public zone or public oriented. They live in very close dwellings, kind of like this one, like these pictures, or this picture of a bunch of houses, and they're kind of all over the place. And they are very okay with being touched. It helps them feel more supported, and it's a sign of reassurance. For time, it depends on the social class. The higher class is very future time oriented, and the lower class is more present time oriented. They live on a day-to-day basis because of their poverty level, so they don't really look ahead. Social organizations. So there's two social classes, the rich and the poor. The higher class is like the middle class, and the very, very high class. They make up about 15%. And the lower class makes up 85%. Education is usually it's like reserved for the higher class. It's seen as very prestigious. And in the family, it's not uncommon to see single mothers. They usually become like the breadwinner, I guess, or the ones that provide for the family. Environmental control, voodoo practices are common, along with Christianity, but voodoo practices are their main beliefs. With pregnant women, they're kind of seen kind of like very valuable. They are treated with more kindness, but when they have the baby or they deliver the baby, they are then seen as dirty. So they have to take baths in a bunch of herbs and tea and like leaves, and it's multiple baths, and after that they become clean again. Their body structure varies. They can be from light to dark skinned, but they're usually shades of brown to black.
Health and wellness in the Haitian culture is perceived as a low priority because of the hesitancy they have to discuss personal and private issues with their healthcare provider. Haitians believe that illness comes from an imbalance in nature caused by, for example, cold winds, water, or food. Haitians also use oils and teas as their first line of treatment for any ailments they may have. The poverty of Haiti is one of 30 of the poorest countries in the world, and it is reflected in their health population statistics. Their infant mortality rate is the highest among the Americas, and their life expectancy is to about the age of 56. Malnutrition is widespread, especially among the young and the poor. This culture reflects a profound reverence for one's ancestors. They have a national holiday for ancestors, which is called Ancestors Day, and is celebrated the 2nd of January. And that's the day after they celebrate their National Independence Day, which is January 1st. Haitians believe in a supreme being called Bandai, an unknowable, unevolved creator god, and worship many spirits, each of which is responsible for a specific domain or part of life.
Identify population-based healthcare and healthcare disparities. As a population, Haitians tend to be skeptical of healthcare providers. Education and communication are vital components needed to bridge the gap between Haitians and Western medicine. Healthcare disparities. Disparities in the Haitian culture are driven by socioeconomic disadvantages and cultural distinction, which has contributed to increasing spread of HIV. Haitians have a high prevalence of opportunistic infections. The nurse should expect when caring for a Haitian. The client may never have had an immunization. Discuss/show nursing implications to provide culturally appropriate care for the Haitian client. Determine which client the language speaks. Nonverbal communication can assist in bridging gaps between the differences in languages because it can facilitate an understanding of client needs. Patients value a touch or a smile by the nurse as a sign of friendship. Touch by the caregiver is supportive, comforting, and reassuring. Educate the client. A nurse is given more authority than a physician. The client may be more cooperative with the direction from a nurse. Implications to nursing. The nurse should be aware that the health system associated with voodoo and Haitian ethnomedicine may be seen by some healthcare professionals as barriers to healthcare and even as adversely affecting implications to nursing. The nurse should be aware that the healing system associated with voodoo and Haitian ethnomedicine may be seen by some healthcare professionals as barriers to healthcare and even as adversely affecting healthcare. They tend to seek emergency or clinics and seek health care only when they are quite ill. Haitian Americans may also seek relief from their symptoms through a physician and at the same time consult a cultural healer.